What About Vietnam?
What About Vietnam? A podcast with Carrie Newsom.
So much to see and do.
What About Vietnam?
Everything you need to know before you go. Let Carrie pave the way for an amazing holiday in Vietnam.
What About Vietnam?
Xin Chao and welcome to What About Vietnam? My name is Carrie Newsom and I am your host. You are listening to the Everything You Need to Know Before You Go series, where I take you through the process of planning through your trip to Vietnam. My aim is to pass on as much information as I can to ensure you have a great trip. In the first episode, we covered off some of the factors influencing your decision to visit Vietnam, hopefully through a better understanding of the food, the people, and the experiences you can expect. You found that interesting and something that you would like to explore when you visit Vietnam. Today, we take you through one step closer to getting you on that plane to Vietnam when we discuss the when to go. This is probably one of the most common questions I get asked as a travel blogger and with my Facebook page. The reason being, it's actually very important. It's where you move into that commitment phase. And in the case of Vietnam, the timing of your trip is actually quite crucial to ensure you get the experience that you want. It's a long, skinny country, and it's not really that easy to give it a one-size-fits-all answer. As it depends on the experiences you want to have during your trip, and they can be drastically impacted by the when. So let's give it due consideration in this episode. I want to take you through two factors to consider. Firstly, festivals. That may not be something that you would have first thought that can impact your trip, but certainly in Vietnam, it is a big factor. The other, of course, is the weather, and we're going to narrow that down to three regions. So we're going to cover the north, the central, and the south regions. So let's firstly cover off the fact that Vietnam celebrates many festivals across the year. In fact, I used to think they had a festival for everything. Then I learned that as a country, they are such a grateful nation of people, full of history, which they honour in pilgrimages and special events, all in the advent of thanks and praise. Some of the festivals are amazing. They attract wide audiences, and you would want to be there to witness them. See in my notes a link to 14 of the most famous ones. But the biggest one of all is Tet. And this has a monumental effect on your holiday stay and should influence your trip planning. What is Tet? Not to be confused with the Tet Offensive. Tet, as it is often so called because it is too difficult to say the Vietnamese name, is by far the most significant holiday and season in the Vietnam calendar. It is the Vietnamese New Year, based on the lunar calendar. It also marks off the coming of spring. It celebrates the feast of the very first morning. Now, this will make more sense once you appreciate the importance of Vietnamese traditions. Who and what happens on the first day of the new year can set the tone for the rest of the year, so it is a day to be treated with respect. Let's talk about Tet Dates. Tet takes place from the first day of the first month of the lunar calendar, around late January or early February. So it does vary from year to year. Please check out my episode notes. I've got a link there to a calendar for the next 5 years for Tet. When you are checking on your dates, take note that Tet is known to Vietnamese as New Year's Day, and the day prior to that would be New Year's Eve. Just so when you're planning something and they're advertising or promoting something for New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, you know what those days and how they fall. I can't stress enough the fact that Tet is not just about a day or 2 days. It can consume up to about 9 to 10 days. It becomes an attitude. Everything either happens before Tet or after, but not much during. By that, I mean like no big decisions will be made during Tet. It is mainly about paying respects and just about being with the people that you love. I'm not going to go into too much more detail here other than to say it is a beautiful time of the year, especially the build-up to Tet. Flowers abound and the whole country goes into a mode of gift giving. House cleaning and preparations for New Year are going on everywhere. As I have travelled many times to Vietnam, including during Tet, I'd like to give you this advice. In the planning side of things, buy your travel tickets early and buy them at least 3 to 5 days in advance. This is sort of more centered around your internal travel. So for things like buses, trains, or flights, a lot of the Vietnamese move around during this period. They are going home to visit their families. So you will find tickets are sold early, and definitely, so you avoid and don't muck up your trip planning, make sure you get in early. As far as scheduling is concerned, be early at the airport, bus station, or train, as this is the busiest travel period for Vietnam people. They do travel long distances and they do carry lots of luggage. So be prepared for some waiting time as you're standing in those queues. Just as far as booking confirmations, make sure you bring all your travel documents, confirming all your travel arrangements, tickets, emergency contact details, etc. Really, not having the right paperwork and all that just adds to your time and queues, and you will get some death stares if you are holding up proceedings, let me assure you. As far as, things to do, don't expect to do too much activity-wise on the actual national holidays, and you'll see those dates in my link. Many tourists do think it's all going to be all still happening and there's going to be dancing in the streets. There is, but not on the actual days. So as a minimum, check with your hotel or your homestay about what is open. There will obviously be skeleton staff, etc., available in your hotels. The homestays and the families will obviously let you know what is happening in there and amongst their family business. Now, let's jump to weather, because weather is that next deciding factor when you're trip planning. Firstly, the country is divided into 3 main regions, or maybe 4. So there's the north and the mountain areas, and north, we're going to talk Hanoi, Halong Bay, and then the mountain areas of Sapa. Central, we're going to probably talk around Hue, Da Nang, Hoi An, and then south into the Ho Chi Minh, Kanto regions, Mekong Delta. So let's start with the north. Hanoi, Halong Bay is monsoonal with hot and humid weather from April to September. And this is when most people do tend to travel. They do have an extremely cool, dry season from October to March, where it is puffer jacket weather for sure, freezing cold and wet. I've had bad luck on trips in late March in Halong Bay where it rained heavy and we literally all sat on the top deck of this boat with blankets being given out to us because it was just so damn freezing. Sipping ginger tea was all fine, but it really didn't inspire us to do too much other than stay warm. And that was March. October and November are the best months to visit since you avoid the domestic tourist flow and also experience a more comfortable temperature as humidity tends to be a little bit more moderate in the north in those months. The mountain area in the northwest, areas like Sapa, Ma Chao, Barbie Lake, they do experience a fluctuation in weather conditions. It is fairly cool all year round and a great place to escape the heat from cities. However, if you are a trekker, you might want to consider the rainy season is from May to September and avoid that. March, April is cool and ideal for outdoor exploration. At the extreme side of things, you can see snow or flurry in December or in January in Sapa. I've seen it in February in Sapa. February in Barbie Lake was freezing, but gorgeous all the same as we had the caves and the grottos all to ourselves and the lake was crystal clear. So it really does depend on yourself and the kind of experiences you want to have. The central part of Vietnam, Hue, Da Nang, and Hoi An, they receive dry and hot southwest wind, which makes up, a strenuous brisk walk during the day. Closer to the beach, the level of severity does reduce, and the dry wind is replacing by the cool ocean breezes. Because of the limited land area, central Vietnam is also most susceptible to natural disasters, such as hurricanes or flooding. The paradox is it is also where most of the beautiful beaches are, wouldn't you know? January to early March certainly are the cooler months. Beaches may be actually too cold to swim in, and unless you're a real cold water swimmer. You'll even find in Hoi An and at Ung Bang Beach, around those months, not all the places are actually even open because it's just too cold and they don't have the customers. By April through to October, the weather gets warmer as the months go on, with June, July, August being the hottest. For people wanting to do any adventuring, i.e. Marble Mountain, My Son, etc., you will find handling the heat and humidity a real challenge. I mention this about this region as it is one of the most popular long stay areas. Hoi An and Hue are super popular and for many good reasons, but I've witnessed travellers in our groups suffer badly as the weather takes a toll on the body when doing any significant walking, etc. I've also known many people who have had to endure the floods, which can come unexpectedly, but most probably during the monsoonal months of November and December. It's worth doing some homework on weather as it impacts your preferred style of travel. Please feel free to contact me anytime. Let's talk about the south now. Ho Chi Minh City, places like Nha Trang, Mui Ne. It's typically hot all year round with two main seasons, rainy and dry. It is also the most predictable region in terms of weather. Summer months from May to August might not be the best time to hit the road since most tourist destinations are packed with tourists and downpours happen quite frequently. So if you're into golf, etc., just be aware May to August, you can get a downpour in the middle of the day and the afternoons. For milder weather, where at least you can walk around comfortably, I would suggest February, March, April. In fact, March, April across the whole of Vietnam is my favourite months and most highly recommended time of the year to do almost anything. In terms of cruising and experiencing the Mekong Delta, due to the heat and humidity aspect, in the middle of the year, I just wouldn't suggest going. My favourite times for the Mekong would be February, March. In the summer months, June, August, it can be hard going. Mosquitoes are rife and the experiences can be made more difficult for children and the less fit and mature travellers. However, if you love the heat, keeping hydrated is key. Slip, slop, slap, and make sure you wear strong insect repellent. I can go into that in more detail in a few more episodes. I hope in this session I've been able to outline some of the key factors in considering your dates for travel, as they truly can make it or break it. Please check with the episode notes for the links mentioned around the Tet Festival, and I do have some other links around my recommended dates. Please feel free to contact me anytime. I look forward to paving the way for you to have a magical time in Vietnam as I share more trip planning tips over future episodes. Stay tuned for more to come in the series What About Vietnam? Everything you need to know before you go. Thanks for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. What About Vietnam? A podcast with Carrie Newsom.